Up for a new episode of You and the Law Podcast, the one and only law enforcement podcast that's tackling critical policing and social justice issues and provides insights into the daily realities of policing with your host, Chief Virgil Green.
Welcome to You and the Law Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the people, the policies, and the principles that shape the world of law enforcement today. I'm your host, Chief Virgil Green. We're bringing you real conversations that matter to officers, leaders, and communities across the country. And tonight, I've got on a special guest who has a book that's coming out. Well, the book is already out, and so if you're looking for a gift to buy for someone this holiday season, you need to pick up Drama Behind the Badge. And I've received my copy, and I haven't really got to read a lot of it yet, but I guarantee you it is definitely a book that's going to be inspiring. It's written by he's a veteran of the military. He's a retired law enforcement officer. And but I'm telling you, you need to pick up a copy of Drama Behind the Badge. And let me bring on my guest, Reggie, and we'll talk a little bit more about Drama Behind the Badge.
Hello, Captain. Hello, Captain.
Good, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Just kind of stuck in traffic and doing some other stuff, but I'm here.
All right. Hey, like I told you, it's all good. We'll make it work with live podcasting. And so again, I'm just glad you're able to tune in and join us tonight. And as we talk about your career and about the book that you got out, that you've been out already doing a lot of book signings and talking to people about the book. And so I just want to, start off by telling our listeners about you, about your career, about your family. And before we get into some of the questions about what inspired you to write this book, so tell me and the listeners about who Reggie is.
Well, Captain, Reggie is a 20-year military Navy veteran. I worked on aircraft, and then I did 22 years in law enforcement as a San Diego County Sheriff. And for 10 years of those, Captain, I did them both. And Captain, I started back in 1990, and I was looking up some stats this morning. In 1990, Captain, the percentage of Blacks with Hispanics in law enforcement was 9.8%.
Yeah.
So it was very low, but I'm married. I've been married for about 41 years to the same wife. Have two lovely daughters. One of them has a PhD. The other one has a master's degree. Captain, I have two grandsons. One's 5. The other one's 4.5 years old. And man, I'm just telling you, Captain, I'm loving life.
You're loving life. You're loving life,
sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
That is what life is all about. Family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have our careers, whether it's in the military or public safety or in the private sector. But at the end of the day, it is all about family.
Yeah, Captain, because I called the other day and I heard your grandson beating you up.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, I've got two grandkids that are with us, and one just turned 5 and the other one just turned 3. And so we got a terrible 3 and a terrible 5. And I tell you, there's never a dull moment in the house. And, we thought we were going to be, empty nesters.
All right,
but we're not. But like I said, I definitely enjoy my two grandsons, and I've got more than those two back home in Oklahoma City. So all together between my wife and I, we have probably 22 grandchildren.
Wow, Cap. Hey,
22.
Cap, I just want to do a recap with you on the real deal. Also, I want you to know I've been in Texas. I've been living in Texas for about 8 years. I was forced to retire from San Diego County Sheriff's Department from mental health issues.
Okay.
And also, it beat me up pretty bad, Captain. I also came home with multiple sclerosis. I got beat up pretty bad in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I think you are pushing my book out there with the wrong title. The title of the book, Captain, is Drama Behind the Badge,
Drama behind the badge.
A True Love Story.
Okay, so I'm missing the true love story part.
And that's the most important part.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
Captain, if you notice, I gave you two conflicting statements right off the bat. I'm going to let you think about it for a minute.
okay.
And I know you the host, so I don't want to take over the show.
Oh no, man. This
But
this is about you.
What you see is what you get, Cap.
Yeah.
And I've spent 20 years putting this book together. So it's down in my core. This book is down in my core, Cap. But Drama Behind the Badge, I'm asking you two conflicting statements. A true love story. I need you to think about what am I trying to tell my audience?
That's a good. So what are you trying to tell?
I'm
What's the
asking you.
message?
I'm asking you.
You're asking me what? So Drama Behind the badge, the true love story. I'm going to say that even though this book has a lot of ups and downs to it, probably you're a veteran of the military, a retired law enforcement officer, but somewhere in throughout this whole that it took you 20 years, there's a love story in this book.
What do you think it is, Cap? What do you think it is? You acting like a captain now, dancing around the answer.
Well, so being the police chief that I have been for the last 20 years, you really you think about things and you try to make sure that you're on point. And I may not be on point with this, but I think what I'm hearing, and we've talked quite a bit over the last couple of months. And I think when you say the true love story, you have a love for what you have been doing in the military and what you've done in public, uh, being a public servant in law enforcement, and the fact that your family has been with you throughout this here whole journey. And so, I believe that when you talk about a true love story, there's a lot of passion in what you have been that you've endured through this journey, and now you're telling that story in this book.
Well, Captain, I hope. Does your audience ever ask questions?
They do. So
Well, let me share some with you.
So in the chat, people can comment. They can put comments in the chat and throughout the podcast. We can
because I need them to help you. I need them to help me because I need your audience to help me because they need to tell the chief that he's wrong.
Hey man, there's nothing with me being wrong.
And let me tell you something, man. I'm not used to telling the chief he's wrong, but I used to ask people. I give them 3 shots because since I wrote my book, I believe people have the answer, chief, but people don't want to. They don't want to really put nothing into it. They want you to give them the answer. Okay. So the first one you came out with, that was not an accurate answer, chief. Could you try again, or you want to do something else, or you want to think about it and come back later, or what are you going to do?
Well, I you know what? I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. But when I tell you what it is, it's gonna mess you up.
I'll come back because man, we've got a lot to cover in this hour podcast, and again, I definitely want you to again, and I don't see this you put me on the spot, but there again, I missed the, and obviously, when you say a true love story, that there is something that there's a message that you're telling.
A major message.
Yeah.
Major. It's not just something. It's
Yeah.
major.
Yeah.
It's huge, Chief. It's large. It's gonna work.
Well, all right. So we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that message. We definitely
Okay.
are.
All right.
But so Reggie, I need to let those who are just now tuning into tonight's podcast that we've got on uh, Reggie, who is the author of Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story. All right, I got it right. I got it right. So, if you got any questions, put them in the chat. Want to definitely thank those who are tuning in on our YouTube page, tuning in on our social media page, You and the Law Podcast. If you got any questions, and this podcast is being sponsored by Drama Behind the Badge, the true love story. And so, you need to Google Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story, and pick up a copy of this book. I know everybody is, you're doing your Christmas shopping. There's a lot of people out here who like a good book, and this is definitely a book that you need to add to your book collection. And so, Reggie, uh, one of the questions I want to ask you: what inspired you to pursue a career in law? Well, before that, I mean, what inspired you to join the Navy? Because you were in the military before you became a law enforcement officer.
You want me to lie to you or tell you the truth?
Well, you tell me which one you want to do.
I want to tell you the truth. I want to tell you the truth, Chief.
All right.
Chief, what inspired me, Chief, it was either having a whole lot of children that I couldn't take care of, or either go to jail, or at 17, go to the Navy and try something different.
Okay. So where did you grow up at?
In Kansas City.
Kansas City, Kansas?
Kansas City, Missouri, Chief.
Kansas City, Missouri. All right. So you're on the Missouri side.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I was a hard head, kid. I was a hard head, Chief.
Okay. Okay. All right. So born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yes, sir.
And realized high school, hey, I got to do something different. So you looked at the military.
Yes, sir. But I want you to know, I was a hard head, but I was a senior class president, so I had a little wit about myself.
Oh yeah. Well, you definitely got the knowledge, man.
And then I went in at age 17. I went into the delayed entry program. So I really, I'm one of 8 children, and so I was just looking for something new. And I write in the book, and I tell people in the book, I was one of 8 siblings, and we lived in a 1-bedroom house.
Oh, wow.
So it was a lot of chaos, and I came from a lot of poverty.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted something different, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew I wanted something different, Chief.
Yeah. Well, so you joined the Navy.
Yes, sir.
At 17. What was that experience like?
Well, I got, you know what? They were giving me they taught me about the chain of command. They gave me an opportunity to learn, to be accountable. I was doing stuff like I was inspecting aircraft, and my job was a very attention to detail type of deal. So if I missed something or I wasn't paying attention, people's lives could be taken. So it really taught me accountability, Chief. It really taught me accountability, and then I started seeing the world, and I got to see something different.
Okay. Well, and I think that's something that a lot of young men and women, when you look at what kind of life, that you have, is the military, a career path? Because, people do go to the military, and it's a career. I mean, again, you just mentioned something that the military creates structure, and coming, and a lot of young men and women need that structure. And once they get into the military, whether it's in the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, now they found what their real purpose.
Okay,
And
sir.
so at 17 you get into the Navy, and I'm gonna say you found to your purpose.
Yes,
and
sir.
and so now the military, now you're traveling to parts of the world that you never even probably thought that you would even be traveling to,
Come
you
on.
know and so and I think a lot of people think, going into the Navy, you're out on this cruise ship, this carrier.
Okay.
And a lot of people think, oh man, I don't know how to swim, but there's more to the Navy than getting in the water.
Well, hold on now. On an aircraft carrier, I was on an aircraft carrier, Chief. I was on the USS Ranger, and I spent some time on the USS Kitty Hawk. And
Okay.
a lot of people don't understand because they don't want to educate themselves. But an aircraft carrier is a city on the water.
On the water, it is.
Yes, sir.
It is.
It's
It
actually
is.
a
Yeah.
city floating on the water. Mhm.
Yeah. It is a very large city floating on the water, as you just said. I
Yeah.
mean, you got everything right there on that ship, coming and going, and it's 24 hours a day.
Yes, sir. You work 12 hours on and 12 hours off.
Okay. So you join the Navy. You're traveling around the world. What's some of the things that you think back, and I'm pretty sure it's probably in the book, about your experience in the U.S. Navy?
Well, the Navy taught me if I would work my work and and pay attention to detail, then I would get promoted, which I did. And Chief, there's a movie out there called Taken. That's where this guy's girl, his daughter's
Daughters.
taken, and he
Hmm.
goes over and rescues her.
Yeah.
Well, my situation wasn't like that, but the only thing that I want to say is that I had the responsibility where I had never been to London before, but I went to London on what you call the unescorted tour. So I went to London by myself,
Okay.
and I was on a mission, and I had to function. I had to find my way through. And so
Okay.
when you're dealing with things like that, uh, I had a level of responsibility that was kind of high. And then, like I told you, after the first 10 years, then I went into law enforcement. I don't know if I was arrogant. I don't know if I had a hot head, but I was used to working in the military. I'm traveling now, and I'm going to London by myself. Now
Okay.
I get this law enforcement job, and I don't want to expose the book to you, but one book talks about they said I skipped the line because I used my military benefits to take care of me and my family and try to move forward.
Uh huh.
I didn't understand the culture in law enforcement that I had to wait my turn in order to get promoted. And that's what caused me to have a target on my back in law enforcement.
So 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 you how many years did you spend in the Navy?
Before I got in law enforcement, I had a total of 10.
10 years. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So you did 10 years in the Navy. You done travel around the world. You're working on aircraft carriers, and so now you've made the decision. Hey, there's life after military, law enforcement, and so what inspired you to pursue a career in law enforcement?
Now, please know, Chief, I loved the Navy, but I didn't like leaving my family like I had to. I was constantly gone.
Yeah.
So I figured if I can get into law enforcement, I could be more present for my wife and my children. which I was accurate with that statement, but it causes me a whole lot of havoc. I didn't know how to navigate my way through the military. I mean, through the law enforcement culture. I didn't know. I was
Okay.
naive.
Okay. So you get into law enforcement, and your career was with the San Diego County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So so what drew you to San Diego? I mean, you're out on the West Coast. Uh, is that where your military,
Yes,
your
sir.
Navy career ended?
Well, that's where it started.
It started.
It
Okay, in
started
San
in the
Diego.
military. Yes, sir. My
Okay.
my first flight was when I went into boot camp. I never flown on a plane before. So I spent most of my time in San Diego, and I was very
Okay.
familiar with San Diego. Uh,
Okay.
they said San Diego was America's finest city, and I enjoyed it there. There was a lot of activities that I could expose my family to,
Yeah.
uh, but I
Well,
just
and
didn't.
there's a Navy base there, isn't it? And there is
Oh,
there.
a Navy base. There's several Navy bases
Is
in
there?
the whole San Diego is Navy. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Anytime, and I have to share this with you and the listeners. Anytime there is a conference in San Diego, um, and I'm definitely going to make sure that I'm able to attend that conference, because I've been there quite often for IACP conferences, to other law enforcement leadership conferences. And I have to tell you, I spent on two occasions over in Coronado Island. And I tell you, I walked from my hotel, which was I want to say was the Courtyard Marriott, all the way down to there's a
This
hotel there that's called, what is it, the
the
Hotel Del
Hotel Dale is called.
Hotel Dale.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right there on the on the beach. And I walked from a hotel all the way down there, and didn't realize how far of a walk that was, but that was a long walk. But I
Right.
have to tell you, there's a lot of good food. I love Mexican food, and just the culture in San Diego, in that area, is amazing. So you get out of the Navy, you get into law enforcement with the San Diego Sheriff Department. Um, Now, obviously, you got veteran preferences,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and so it sounds like there was some resentment to that coming into your black man coming into the San Diego County Sheriff's Office. There's nothing wrong with you using your veteran preferences, because that is something that that opens doors for a lot of people. But I'm gonna ask you this question, because I like to keep it real here on You and the Law podcast.
Hmm.
Do you think, just did that have anything to do with the color of your skin?
Come on, Cap. Come on,
Hey,
Cap. I
hey,
mean, I
hey,
mean,
hey.
in 1990, when the U.S. Census were telling you across the country, only 9.8% of Black and Hispanic were law enforcement officers. And when I was actually in the academy, that's when the Rodney
Rodney King.
King issue was happening.
Yeah,
And if you notice, it was in my back door because I was in San Diego and that was in LA.
yeah.
And I had to listen to the jokes. He deserved it. I had to laugh with the team, even though I didn't feel that way.
Hmm.
I couldn't really give my honest answers because if I'd have gave my honest answers, I wouldn't have made it through the academy.
Yeah. So when you went to the academy, how large of a academy was that? How many went through the academy? Do you
I want to
recall?
say maybe there was about 40 in our class.
And how many minorities were?
Uh, four,
Four.
three.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and this is something, I mean, you just mentioned, uh, there's probably less than 9% of men and women in law enforcement. And this has been something that is this isn't something that's new. It's been this way for a very long time. Um, but you know, I want to focus more. I want to get into the book, but the one thing that you're coming into the military, which is totally has a different culture coming from the Navy into law enforcement, because now racism is right there in front of your face. It probably was it maybe it existed in the Navy but in law enforcement it's going to be right there, and you're going to have to deal with that. And if you want to be in this profession, and I think the one thing that you know you were just mentioning, what was going on with Rodney King. You got all the jokes about, hey, he deserved it, all this
Mhm.
other kind of stuff.
Right.
Um, and I'm pretty sure that was, pretty difficult to navigate
Definitely.
through that.
Definitely. And we all, I think we shortchanged that, Chief. We just, suck it up. But I'm telling you, when you sent me home with a lot of mental health issues.
Hmm.
And I'm not afraid to tell you, because I served. And I thought that it was okay for me to, because the Navy taught me to adapt, to
Yeah.
overcome, and to improvise, and to provide for my family the best way I could. But then when I got into, and I could never, I used to stumble over little things, Chief, like they would say that the law enforcement is what they call a paramilitary organization. Absolutely not. Absolutely. I mean, from what I was seeing, the military taught me true brotherhood. You take care of your guys, you help your guys get promoted, you make sure
Yeah.
they're ready. You teach the guy to take your job because that's how the ladder is supposed to work.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in law enforcement. Nobody's teaching you how to come and I hate to say it because you are the chief, but when it's time for a training officer to come or promotion to come within the ranks, it's like you guys are throwing a stick out there for us to fight each other over. You
Well,
know,
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
hey, the best dog win.
Yeah.
And then they say to you, that's not a family.
No, no, it's not. And I think, and I've said this, over the years on the podcast, is that, there's a lot of good in law enforcement, but there's a lot of bad. We don't talk about the bad. We just talk about the good. And the culture of policing needs to change, because it is something that you go back as to how did the law enforcement become law enforcement. And there are some dark secrets there. There are some things that, the slave patrol came out of law enforcement.
All right.
And you have a generation of people who don't want to talk about that. Now you have another generation that's saying, well, that was way back then. I don't need to know anything about that. That has nothing to do with me. But I've always said this, Reggie, you got to understand the profession you're in, and why people who look like you and me and other brown uh, uh, people have such a dislike, and some have such a hatred for law enforcement because of how they have been treated, how their family members have been treated, how friends have been treated. And and it's almost just kind of like, well, hey, it happened, you need to move on. But we've never done a good enough job. And even though we say, this is all about community policing, there are times where it's a slogan, and you've got some agencies that are out there doing a really good job of community policing, but you have some that are not really connected to the community the way that should be connected to the community. Because I said this, Reggie, that we serve at the pleasure of the public.
Wow.
We serve at the pleasure of the public, and we exist because of the public. And that does not, yeah, there's some bad people out there. There are people who are selling, selling drugs. There's people who are doing things that violate the law, but there's a lot of good people.
Okay.
And so, that's where we need to find, how do we police uh, in a society to where it's about empathy and it's about compassion. But you were in San Diego in the 90s, and this is at the height of the war on drugs, gangs. San Diego County was not immune to what was going on in LA County. And you're right there in San Diego, so you're right close to the border. You're right close to Tijuana. So help me understand and the listeners understand. So you go to the academy, you get out of the academy. Now you're going through field training. You're going through your FTO training.
Hmm.
What was that experience like? Or
Wow.
were you put on the road, or were you put in, or did you have to spend some time in the jail before you became a deputy out on patrol? How did that work out for you?
Well, thanks for asking, Chief. What happened is no blacks have been promoted, and I started with the Marshals Department, and then in 2000 we merged into the San Diego Sheriff's Department. We all merged together. But
Okay.
I started, there were no blacks that had been promoted. Everybody was waiting their turn to be sponsored to go into the academy, because you had to go to the academy, 11-month academy, and then you got your certificate to be law enforcement. Well, I jumped the loop because I used my GI benefits
Hmm.
and paid
Okay.
for it and went through the academy. Now I'm hated throughout the whole department. And so the goal was to demote me. Well, there was a lot of stress on the boss from outside forces telling him that he needed to promote a black. So once I finished the academy, I instantly got promoted. Now training, everybody in training. Maybe a 16-week training. I was on training for, I want to say to you, at least 3 months.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to release me from training. They couldn't get the training officers to release me from training. Then there was a black lieutenant who finally said, okay, enough's enough. And he released me from training. But they kept remediating me, making me go through it again and again and again. I'd have a
Okay.
good day, then I'd have a bad day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm asking your question. I'm just telling
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
my training was hell.
Yeah. Well, and again, and I think that's something that, and I'm pretty sure this is something that's in the book. But the one thing that is that black men and black women have not had the same, um, have not been afforded the same opportunities as people who don't look like you and I. And you get now you've got a target on your back. Now you've got some people thinking, oh, he thinks he's got some privilege because he was in the military, and or he knows somebody, or they're doing this because he's black.
Or he's
Uh,
arrogant. I was very confident.
and there's
And I
nothing wrong with
wanted I wanted to go back to Captain. Me and you might. I don't want to arm wrestle you because you are the host of the podcast, but I don't think community policing exists today. I do not.
it. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely does not. I'm sorry, Chief. I don't believe it because
Well,
we used to have to get out the car at least 1 or 2 hours out of the shift, walk the beat, meet the people, talk to the business owners, really see what's going on the beat.
yeah.
That does not happen anymore,
Yeah.
Chief. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, you're right, Reggie. I think, there are, when we talk about community policing, if you go back to, uh, in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, you had a lot of, so let me say this. If you go back in the 60s, during the civil rights era, I was born in 1963. And I've heard stories from my uncles. I've heard stories from who were in law enforcement. Uh, some were in law enforcement out in California. Some were in law enforcement in my home state of New Mexico. And when I moved to Oklahoma City, a much bigger city than where I grew up in, it really uh, it really hit me to hear. It was, well, I'm gonna say this. It was disturbing to hear uh, older black gentleman who was on the Oklahoma City Police Department say, man, we couldn't arrest a black person. We had to, if we arrested him, we had to handcuff him to this light pole, and a white officer had to come and get him to take him downtown to the jail, and they walked the beat, and that's how a lot of the community knew who those officers were. And it wasn't until the late 60s that some police officers got a car to drive. And when I got into in listening to these stories that these guys were telling me, I said, how did you endure that type
Mhm.
of just, this is a profession that you wanted to get in, and they were in the military just like yourself.
Okay.
Some were in the Marines, some were in the Navy, some were in the Air Force, some were in the Army. They got out and they got into uh, becoming a police officer, and just the things that they had to endure. And one of them who retired as a lieutenant said, chief, and I was a chief, and this was in 2000, and he said, now you're in a position that, you know 30 years ago we didn't see black police chiefs.
Come on, man. Hmm.
Now we see black men and black women serving as police chief. So some of the things that they did, they opened up doors for people like me.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And but to go back to, what you said about community policing, it has been, to me, it has been something that people have said, yeah, we do community policing, but what are you really doing in the communities that really need to see community policing? And that's in the minority communities. And that means getting out of your car, walking the beat, walking, talking to people. Uh, and we got away from that, because that was the culture of policing in the 50s and 60s. Because black men and black, especially, you didn't see a lot of black women in law enforcement, but black men, they couldn't. And this is what got me, just how segregated law enforcement has been.
Wow.
It has been so segregated that even in major cities like Atlanta, Detroit, especially down south, they were not allowed to drive a police car. And so, and that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother podcast. And I don't want to go down that road with you, but you kind of touched on something as you're talking about your journey getting into law enforcement and what you went through at, early on in your career with the San Diego County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And so when you talk about, the community of it, the aspect of it, how did the community in San Diego, what was your experience with the community?
I love the community. The community loved me. I love the criminals. The criminals loved me. We understood where the line was. We understood
Okay.
when you needed to go to jail, you went to jail. But we didn't do all the extracurricular activity. I'm not, if you had to go to jail, you went to jail. But what I'm trying to share with you, my problem in law enforcement still today is after I got my certificate where I finished academy, that means I met all the requirements to be a police officer. So now let me do the job. I'm not going to do the job the way the Caucasian guys did the job, because that's not my life experience.
Correct.
And so that's what really, and me being a baby in law enforcement, I didn't know I could take what I learned in the military, my leadership, and things I've learned there, and apply them into law enforcement. Well, the guys resented that. They looked at me as being arrogant. They looked at me as being, who is this guy? He's fitting out of his league. Then when I got promoted, it was like, okay, let's demote him. Then you'll see it. Now you're starting to play with my family. I got 2 wrongful terminations. A lot of people don't know what wrongful termination is, Chief. The public is not educated. And what I mean by that, and I'm talking to some of your listeners right now, a wrongful
Okay.
termination is not saying I walk in your office and say, "Hey, Chief, you did me wrong. You sent me home," and no. A wrongful termination is when there a group of people in the community look at what the chief has set up for me and said, "Chief, what you did was not appropriate. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right.
Put
You're
this
right.
guy back to work." They did that to me twice. Then 30 days after you put me on administrative leave, which you call administrative leave, which is really the beginning to terminate me, I have no medical insurance.
You're
And this
right.
this is what took me over the wall, Chief. This is
Okay.
what with me my mental. I had
Okay.
a 4-year-old daughter at the time, and she was asthmatic.
Okay.
Had to go beg her doctor to give me enough medicine to help my baby get through the rough season.
Okay.
You can say okay because you the chief, but
Well,
chief. I'm not saying okay. I'm telling you, I'm stuck now.
yeah.
When you start playing with my family, the game has changed.
Yeah. Well, and Reggie, and I think that's the one thing that a lot of people, when you get into a position of being the sheriff, or you get into the position of being, you know, um, a supervisor, a captain, or a lieutenant, or a major, whatever that rank structure is, you forget about, the people. We all are human, and that is what I will say that's also missing in this profession is the human side of law enforcement, because we all have families and we all have things that we deal with. And I've always tried to make sure that in the position that I've been in is to make sure that the men and women who serve under me, that they know that first and foremost your family is important.
To
This
who?
job, this,
To who?
your family is important to me.
Well, let me share something with you, and I really hope your listeners are listening right now because
Okay.
me and you are getting ready to have a disconnect.
Okay.
Because you sent me through a psychological evaluation, which I passed. Then you sent me through another shrink examination, which I passed. Now we go to the board. You sent a captain to represent you, and the captain asked them to do another evaluation on me.
Why?
And then my attorney finds out that the sheriff's department was negotiating behind the doors with the shrink office to waive and help get me terminated. And even the shrink felt like the department, they crossed in the ethnic lines because I'm the
Yeah.
doctor here. Are you
Yeah.
understanding?
Yeah.
They're trying to tell him what to ask and how to do the evaluation. And so he tells my attorney this, my attorney tells me in court, and then this captain asks for another evaluation, and my attorney's kicking me under the table telling me to shut up because I'm like, what
Something's
is
wrong.
it,
Yeah.
what is it these people are not getting?
Yeah.
And then the hardest part was Was it getting fired or going back to work?
Well, I would have to say, going back.
Okay, now listen to our chief. You are a chief of police. Listen to what you just said. That's horrible.
It
And
is.
you're right. Me going back.
Yeah. Because you have to deal with what you were already facing. And now you've got people who, this is a profession that
But
is,
where are you at? Where are you at, Chief? Aren't you
well,
supposed to protect me at a
you,
certain point? Aren't you
you
supposed to protect me?
yeah,
Where are
yeah,
you at?
yeah. Well, and again,
I'm gonna tell you where you at. You were the enemy.
yeah.
You might not let me on the podcast no more, but the chief
No,
was my problem. Go ahead.
yeah,
I'm listening.
yeah, yeah. Well, and Reggie, and again, and I think, as we talk about your book, Drama Behind the Badge, the True Love Story, there's a lot to unpack in this
Wow.
book.
Wow.
And your experience, and let me ask you this question. As you spent 10 years in the Navy, 22 years with the San Diego Sheriff's Office,
Chief, don't get it wrong. I did 20 years in the Navy.
20
I
years in the
had
Navy.
just did 10 years.
Okay.
Then I went to law enforcement. Then I did another 10
Another 10.
years
Got you.
in
Okay.
the military. Then I continued.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So in that time, did you ever did you ever resent? Did you ever think twice about the decision that you made to join the San Diego Sheriff's Office?
Chief, I hate to tell you this, but there was no other option. There wasn't a plan B. At
Okay.
age 17, I joined the military. I just got my degree. I just walked the stage at age 62. I kept on
Okay.
and I got my degree. But what I'm trying to tell you, it's not like what the kids are doing now, stay on the job for 6 months. This is all I knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean resent? I have to take care of my family. I'm going to
Well,
bed.
yeah. Well, and I think the question is, and for me and those who are listening, at some point, did you ever think like, hey, this, yeah, I got to take care of my family, but do I really want to uh, put
Absolutely
myself
not.
through?
Absolutely not. I
Okay.
mean, just maybe it's the way I was wired.
Okay.
I'm taking care of my family, and this is
Yeah.
how I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so you, so let me, I want to ask you this question, so uh, how did you build that relationship with the community that you serve?
Wow, preacher. Okay. My evaluations never went up past a standard. Even though I was on the team, extradition team, so that means I'm flying across the country with top big notch felons. Then every year I would do what you call a back to school backpack giveaway to the kids in the community. And I
Okay.
would I would have them pledge to do better the upcoming year than they did last year. And most of the kids were brown and black.
Okay.
And we gave them bikes, and I had attorneys and all these people I put together. That's how I developed the trust within the community. The community loved me better than law enforcement.
Well, and I think, just with what you just shared, so far in the podcast, that, you were faced with some obstacles getting into this profession uh, in law enforcement. And the fact that, you know, I'm pretty sure that other people who went through the academy with you did not have to deal with what you were dealing with?
Well, let me share something with you, and I'm gonna hold back because I'm not gonna do this on your show. But I'm gonna tell you this: you need to crack this book open as fast as you can,
Oh,
because
well, I definitely
listen,
am.
Chief, listen. There was a white guy that was very instrumental in helping me.
Okay.
He goes down in the locker room. I am the only black guy in the locker room. Back then, we were doing 15 and 2. Do you remember 15 and 2?
Yeah.
2 breaths, 15 compressions, right? He
Yeah.
went full cardiac arrest. I'm the last guy he's talking to. I'm on his mouth. There's 20 other white police officers in the locker room. Nobody's helping me. This guy dies on me. I don't want to tell you the book.
Well, because I did read a port. I did see that in the book, and that was a question I was going to ask you about that. But we're going to, this is not, we're going to be doing this is a 3-part series
Okay, go ahead.
of drama behind the badge, a true love story on You and the Law podcast. So, we're going to be doing, our next uh, interview podcast series is going to be, January the 8th.
Go ahead.
And then after that is going to be February the 13th. So, over the next, you know, between January and February, we're going to be talking a lot about drama behind the badge, the true love story, and unpacking what inspired you to write this book. And here you are today, seeing how this is how it is coming out, and how you're able to share your stories with so many people. And so, and again, I don't, because we got so much time to talk about this book, but that is something that I did see in the book, and I wanted to ask you about it, because you dedicate this book to someone.
Don't you do it. Don't go
and
there.
and I don't
You
want, and
LLC.
I don't want to say anything about it right now, but you dedicate this book to somebody, and I want to, we're going to get into that probably in
Boy,
our next podcast about
you
who.
nasty. You
Huh?
nasty. You are a thief. Mm-hmm.
So but Reggie.
Down behind the badge, a true love story. Are you ready to go for number 2? Can you hit me with number 2? What
Hey,
do you think
hey.
I'm trying to tell you? What do you think I'm trying to tell you? What am I
Well,
telling your audience?
so you asked me this question about the true love story,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I really gave the right answer, uh, and I said I would come back to it. But the one thing that I want to do during our series of our podcast show is to really get to know who Reggie is,
Wow.
and where Reggie's at now.
Wow,
It,
Chief.
and because I said this to you on one of our conversations before, is that we all have a story to tell.
Wow.
We all have a book. We all have a book in us. And so the one thing that I want people to take away from this here is that this book is inspiring. This book is has a lot of uh, because I haven't read the whole book. There's a lot in here to unpack as to what happened over your entire career being in the Navy, your entire career being as a retired sheriff deputy, and so that's what I want people to. That's what I need to for myself to learn um, as we are having this conversation about drama behind the badge, a true love story. And so it is something that uh, and as we just are in this episode just talking with you, there's so much that you have to share with the listeners about you know the the drama behind the badge, a true love story, because and I want to ask you this question: how did you the word drama behind the badge? Now you're asking me about the true love story. I'm going to ask you, where did that drama behind the badge? Where did that come from for you to select that as the title for your book?
In my quiet moments, Chief, in the spiritual part of me, God helped me let me know that I went through a whole lot of things, but it didn't have to be that way. So that's where I got the drama, Chief. Because Chief, I didn't have a real law enforcement experience. All my fighting, Chief, was with the department. You're not hearing me.
Well, and I think, that's the one thing that is, and I'm going to have to say, to me, it's very disturbing that you had to fight for something that you didn't have to fight for. But, there's a story behind what you what you went through. And
Why
the
did you say I
fact,
wouldn't have to fight for it, Chief?
you say what?
Why did you say I wouldn't have to fight for it?
Well, and I say that to say, and I said that you shouldn't have to fight for it because there are other people who did not have to go through what you had to go through.
Okay.
They did not have to fight for anything. They
Okay.
did not have to fight to get promoted. They did not have to fight to get it to make it through FTO. They did not
Okay.
have to fight. They did not have to endure some of the things that you had to endure. And you still, and the one thing that I will say, Reggie, is that you are a man of faith, and it is definitely shown when you open up this book with the scriptures that you have in the beginning of the book, is that you leaned on your faith to get you through some of the the things that you were experiencing, and the fact that these are those were times that and you said where was the sheriff at, where was the all the other command staff people at to say, hey, listen, why are we doing what we're doing? This is not the every agency has and I'm gonna say, here's our mission statement, and this is how we treat people. That is just it is words that is there but really have no substance to it. And so, why should you or anybody else be faced with those type of challenges? Because you want to serve your community. You got into law enforcement to serve your community.
Hello? Where you been all my life?
well, right now, Reggie, this is going to be, and I have to say this, man, this is going to be a very, uh, uh, an experience for me and an experience for those
Okay,
who are going to
Chief.
be listening to the
Okay,
podcast,
Chief. Okay,
as
Chief.
to, to learn about drama behind the badge, the true love story, because at the end of it, there's a love story. At the end of it, there's a love story. And
At
and,
the
and
end,
well,
at,
well,
at,
Go ahead.
No, I'm waiting on you. Well, I'm
Well,
telling you, you asked something, and some of the questions you asked are still kind of sensitive with me.
uh-huh.
I want to answer your question, Chief, because I'm not going to play with you. I've been retired for 13 years, so I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
going to be
no.
honest with you. No, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no threats. I ain't got no problem.
Yeah.
But let me share
Yeah.
with you where the chief was. The chief was asking for another psychological evaluation while my baby was struggling to breathe. The chief was suffocating me, using his command staff to damage me. And I'm not trying to hurt you, Chief. I'm
Oh,
not.
oh no.
I'm
No,
telling
no.
you the truth.
Yeah. Well, and again, Reggie, and I think, that's what this book is. I think that's what this book is about. There's some drama behind the badge, and people need to know what that drama was. And because at the end of the day, just based on this episode, you did not you did not receive the treatment that any man or woman in this profession should have received. And and so how do you go through 20? Now, you were with the San Diego County Sheriff's Office, what, 22 years?
Yes, sir.
22 years.
Yes, sir.
Uh, and you retired? Did you retire as a
I'm
just as a
medically retired with PTSD, with multiple sclerosis, so they forced me to retire,
okay, okay, all right,
which
okay,
is part of the true love story.
okay, all
Because
right.
it's called Exodus in the Bible. Exodus,
Exodus.
Exodus, when God is exiting the children of Israel out of Egypt. You're not hearing me, preacher.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you, sir. I'm hearing you.
And so, what I'm trying to say to you, yeah, and I'm not blaming anyone. I don't want nobody. If they're reading this book for the drama sells. But that's not the focus. I can't tell you how to read the book, but I'm telling you how I want you to read it.
Okay. Okay.
But
All
you got
right.
to answer that question first.
All right.
See, you
Well,
trying to squeeze out of me. I'm trying to tell you, if you can answer that question, it's not woe is me, poor little Reggie, because listen to me, Chief. I live a very good life.
okay. I
In
got you.
spite of what I've been through, God has been good to me.
But you wouldn't be sitting where you are now if God has not been good to you. Definitely. Definitely. So, so yeah. So Reggie, man, and I said this to you before, man. An hour goes by quick when we're having a good
Okay, Chief.
conversation, and so, you know, um, I want to I want to remind those who are tuned in to the podcast tonight that tonight's topic is being drama behind the badge, a true love story, with the author of the book, Reggie, and who spent 20 years in the military, in the Navy, spent 22 years in law enforcement. He's now the author of Drama Behind the Badge, a true love story. And I want to, just put this out there that you need to definitely go to your web. So Reggie, what I want you to tell people, how can they find the book,
You
and
can get
how
the
can they?
book, Chief. You can get the book on several ways. I'm gonna be doing some stuff where I'm gonna be actually reading parts of the book audibly. We're working on that. But right now, if people go to Reggie Grid, ReggieGridd.com, Reggie GRIDD.com, and they hit on that, it'll take them straight to Amazon. They can buy the book. I'm not tripping on people buying the book. What I'm tripping on, I tell people all the time, don't buy the book if you're going to sit it on the shelf. I really want them to look at my bio. There's 2 QR codes on there. If you look at the one on the bottom, it takes you straight to my bio. Because if you see my bio, it'll give you a little bit of more about who I am, what
Okay.
I stand for, some of the things that I went through. But yes, Chief, they can get it on Amazon. If they go to Amazon.com and just put in Drama Behind the Badge, a True Love Story, boom, the book will come up. It's all kind of ways they can get the book. If they go, I have another website called Drama Behind the Badge.com. That's where it tells about all my book signings, all the events that I'm doing. It talks about my podcast tonight. And I promise you, I didn't want to come on your podcast without letting you know. I think it's so important. You had a guy on with you from La Mesa. I listened to that podcast, and he talked about bulletproof spirit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want you to
Dan
know,
Willis.
man, man, that touched my heart. I'm still healing through some of the process, but that's how they can get my book. If they go to Drama Behind the Badge, they can purchase the book. If they go to Amazon and put in Amazon and just type in the name of the book will show up.
Will show up. Okay.
And also, if they go to ReggieGriddine.com, they can get the book.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I want to remind those that tonight's episode is sponsored by
Mm.
Drama Behind the Badge, a True Love Story. And so, we're going to be coming back together again on January the 8th, Thursday, January the 8th. Then we're going to be coming back together again on Thursday, February the 13th. Uh, and throughout these series, we're going to be unpacking more and more about Drama Behind the Badge, a True Love Story. And as we talk with Reggie, the author of this book. Now, Reggie, you got some upcoming events that are happening in San Diego. You want to share with our listeners where those events going to be at? And
Yes, sir. I have a book signing on Saturday. It's at True Vine Church. If you go to dramabehindthebadge.com, you can see where that event's taking place. Then I have another event on next Wednesday where I'll be at Greater Woodlawn Church. The bishop that helped me through a lot of these processes, he's now 90 years old, but he was my spiritual rock. So now I'm trying to give back to him. And I'll be at his church on I believe it's the Saturday. I have one. I have an event on Sunday at his church. Then I have another event on Wednesday. And my manager keeps telling me the nuts and the bolts of this, Chief. I did my law enforcement career, but now I love veterans. I advocate for veterans. I make sure that they get their benefits. I make sure that the veterans that pass, their wife get what you call DIC, dependent indemnity compensation. I'm all about really trying to help veterans and their families. And that's what's going to be the big twist, is trying to introduce my book to military, active duty, and veterans from a mental health perspective.
well, and that's what's so important, and as you mentioned, Reggie, I had on a guest a couple of weeks ago, Dan Willis, who is the author of Bulletproof Spirit. And we're talking about the wellness of men and women in public safety, first responders. And because we do have a lot of people who have been in the military who have come into law enforcement as yourself. And so and there's a much greater need to have these conversation about wellness. We did not talk about this 20 years ago. And so now we are having a lot more conversations about wellness in the military, as well as for our first responders. So again, I appreciate you checking out
Thank
that
you,
episode. with Dan Willis. And actually, Dan is going to be coming back on because the one thing that I truly believe in is just not having a guest come on one time and talk about a book or talk about a topic that we're talking about. But he's going to be coming back on to talk more about his book, Bulletproof Spirit, and the things that he's doing in training and getting out, because he's in the same area of California that you're in.
Right.
And so, but yeah. And so
one of my prayers is that we can do a circle. And I'm looking at you and I'm watching you. I don't think we're going to do a 3 series and out. But I really need you to contact my manager and let her know that I did do the plug. It's what I'm trying to do with the military families as far as mental health. That is very, very, very important to her.
Yeah. So, well, it is. And I think that is something that is not talked about a lot. That needs to be talked about. There's a lot of need for veterans in services that veterans and their families, because and I have to say this, Reggie, before we sign off, is that there should be no reason for a person that served our country to be homeless. Wow. And we have so many men and women who are veterans who are dealing with PTSD, who are homeless. But that is, again, that's a whole nother topic to talk about on a podcast. But again, I definitely appreciate you. I want to say
thank you for having me. Yeah, I want you to keep your head up, Chief, because I was on the radio for 2 years begging veterans to get their benefits. And I want you to know that some of those guys that are homeless, they want to be there. That's where their mindset is.
Yeah.
There. So it's not a society problem. Some of them, that's what they want.
That's what they
choose. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time that you spent with me.
Well, we're gonna definitely do this again on January the 8th, and so
I need you to think about the title and tell me what you think.
Okay, all right. Well, I will definitely do that. So again,
I can't believe you have a good attention to detail, because you really hit a nerve on who I dedicated this book to.
Okay, all right. Well, we definitely, we're going to get into that a lot more.
I might run.
Hey man, don't run now. Don't run. Yeah, but Reggie, it has been a pleasure. And again, I want to remind those that if you missed any parts of this podcast, you will definitely be able to catch the audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search "You and the Law" podcast, and you will hear this episode of Drama Behind the Badge, the true love story. And I need to make sure that when we come back on again, that I add the true love story on the bottom of the ticker there. So, but Reggie, it has been a pleasure, sir, to have you on You and the Law podcast, and looking forward to having you back on and having many more conversations about your book and about this journey that you have been going over the last 20-something years. So,
and I think it really helps me I don't know how we can do it, but to get more interaction with your audience. I would love for them to ask me questions. I mean, because I'm still going through the healing process, and it just helps me.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I know we got a lot of people that are on listening, whether they're on YouTube or Facebook. And I put up, a couple of times people ask questions in the chat. Obviously tonight we didn't get people to ask any questions in the chat, but I'm pretty sure, that the next time we come on, we're going to have a lot more people on listening to the podcast, and hopefully we'll get some some comments going back and forth about, what people want to ask you.
Thank you, sir.
And so, but again, Reggie, again, I appreciate your time today, and we will come back on January the 8th. for our second episode of Drama Behind the Badge, the true love story.
Thank you, Chief. And you sharp, man. You
All right.
sharp. I see why you're a Chief.
All right. All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
All right. Well, just hang tight, and I'll be right back with you. But again, everybody, thank you for tuning in for tonight's podcast. And make sure you tune in next Thursday, because it's definitely going to be another informative topic on You and the Law podcast right here on streaming live on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. So everybody have a good night, and we will see you again next Thursday right here on You and the Law podcast.
Good night.
That's a wrap on this episode of You and the Law podcast. We've got more eye-opening conversations and hard-hitting insights coming your way, so make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and stay ready, because the next episode might just change the way you see law enforcement forever.